Hello and welcome to this week's Roundup by blockchaingamer.biz, your source of the most relevant news in blockchain gaming. Make sure you check out our articles on blockchaingamer.biz and follow us on Twitter on BCGBiz. Today is Friday, the 9th of June, and I am your host, Jenny Jordan, and with me is co-host John Jordan. Hi, John.
Hello, how are you?
Are you? Yeah, good. Sunny today?
Yeah,
That's
still
good.
going.
Yeah. So we're quite straight into it. We've got some investments this week. Argus Labs has raised 10 million and HyperPlay 12 million. Can you tell us something about those two different
Yes, I will
investments?
attempt to do so. Argus Labs is it's interesting. It's not exactly clear whether they're making games or making sort of development tools for making games or doing both. I think they sort of seem to be doing a little bit of both. So they're not a company that I think most people had heard of before.
And they're like a startup, quite new.
Yeah. So US based. The CEO was involved in a project called Dark Forest that was pretty famous. Was it 2001? I think. Anyway, it was one of the first sort of fully on-chain games running on ZK rollups when they were very early tech, and that's a sort of a scaling solution. So you can basically sort of run them. You can run transactions sort of much quicker than on the Ethereum mainnet, but you still sort of roll them up to Ethereum mainnet for security. So that was sort of quite a high end on-chain project that wasn't mass at all, but the people who were really into Ethereum sort of geeks and coders really loved it. I won't go into all the details of that, but it's
2021, you mean now? You said 2001. No,
sorry,
2021.
2021.
Yeah.
So that's where the sort of the CEO comes from. So obviously he's sort of well grounded in that sort of very sort of cutting edge tech, and it seems like they're doing some sort of tooling around that, and it could even be they've got their own potentially their own roll up solution. It wasn't entirely clear when I looked at it, and sort of 10 million is sort of a pretty big first funding round for them. The lead funder was
Horn
Ventures, which was the one of the people who used to work at A16Z, and then set up their own fund. So they're not they're sort of a crypto fund, but not particularly game a fund. So it's sort of interesting that they led that one. So we'll see. And when it comes to sort of tooling and sort of engines, I think that they're sort of their main thing is called the World Engine, and it's just sort of quite a lot of those things now. So there's quite a lot of companies sort of selling products where this makes it easy for game developers to make blockchain games, which is obviously a difficult problem. But I think there's always, when it comes to game development tools, there's sort of two parts of it, and one is does it work, and is it sort of does it to allow people to make sort of good games, and then there is the sort of, is it easy enough? And I think those products it's easy to think that's an easy problem to solve, but actually, because there's the sort of complexity of what it actually does, and then the ease of use, those can be sort of counterproductive. So I think those sort of engines can be quite hard to do. And there's people like Stardust who've been around for a couple of years and raised quite a bit of money. So it's quite a competitive market. And as well as all the sort of, does it work well and is it easy to use, you have to have like a sales team that go out and do it. So there's actually companies, from an investment point of view, if you're the sort of winner, if you're the Unreal or the Unity, then obviously those are massive businesses. But those businesses have taken 20 years to build, and quite a lot of capital, and it's a sort of, we'll see how that sort of stuff plays out. And then the other one is HyperPlay, which is raised 12 million from Griffin and Bitcraft, who certainly Bitcraft, one of the busier sort of game investors. Done a lot of investment in sort of blockchain stuff recently over the last year, and Griffin, sort of well-known big games fund as well. And so HyperPlay is sort of a PC game sort of distribution platform. Again, it's sort of one of these things where there's quite a lot of people doing this. So there's, I think we've spoken recently. There's sort of Ultra, which is this very big sort of platform for distributing PC games, and there's its own blockchain. And then there's sort of quite a lot of other, more on the sort of discovery side. So it's sort of Elixir and things like that. Flame is another one, and then there's this HyperPlay. So basically, it's what they're saying. It's a way of developers can you have to. It's a sort of P for PC games. So you download the sort of client, and anyone who's releasing games through the Epic Game Store and sort of other stores, you can sign in to the Epic Game Store through HyperPlay and get all your sort of games there. So it acts as an aggregator for those sort of blockchain games. It has sort of a inbuilt. You can sort of use MetaMask and stuff. So again, it's I think with those sort of platforms, obviously in the Web 2 world, Steam is a massive, enormous product that basically all serious sort of PC gamers use. But again, that's taken them sort of 20 years to build up, and you only sort of need one of those. So there are, in the Web 2 world, there's sort of Steam, and there's the Epic Store now, and there's stuff like sort of GOG, and there's other sort of smaller stores. So there is a sort of market for more than one. But most of the value sort of flows to the sort of big winner in those markets. So from a sort of investment point of view, that's sort of, if you're investing in these sort of products, you sort of have to think, how, why is this one going to be the winner rather than, ones that are already out there and maybe ones that raise more money. So with both these products, with Argos and HyperPlay, very early. So this is their first funding rounds.
In this one, Bitcraft was the lead investor, wasn't it?
It's Bitcraft and Griffin, yeah. I think they were co-leads. So, and again, with these other, with Web3 stuff, is, at the moment it's not a big enough market. There's not that many people going, I need a launcher for my Web3 games. I mean, that's not where we're at the moment. So they're sort of positioning themselves for a couple of years out. But, if suddenly you're sort of competing with Epic, the Epic Game Store, which is obviously Epic, a massive, big, enormous company, and there's quite a lot of blockchain games already just on the Epic Store. So you're sort of like, why would I use this rather than the Epic Store? I mean, Epic Store doesn't have inbuilt wallets or anything like that. So that would be the thing that the HyperPlay people would say. But then, in 5 years' time, maybe Steam just goes, oh yeah, we didn't do blockchain NFT when it was all scammy, and now it's all really serious, and EA's doing blockchain games, and of course we're doing blockchain. So just because some of these big platforms aren't doing it now, it doesn't mean they won't do it in future. And then if someone like Steam just goes, oh yeah, blockchain games are fine on us, then that's, it's very hard to then sort of compete with those sort of things. So that would be my sort of
saying that though. If no one's going to be the forerunner, kind of doing it when it's a bit difficult, then those bigger ones are never going to take to it, are they?
Potentially. I mean, that's
someone
always
has to do the groundwork, sort of thing.
I mean, yeah, that's always, whenever you look at sort of an investment with from a VC hat on, there's always, there's never a perfect investment. There's always, no one's doing it, so we've got a great idea and a great product we think that people will love at some point in the future. But there's sort of, that's the sort of the ambition, that's the sizzle of, this is going to be massive and everyone's going to be using it. But
I mean, to some extent, Web3 is still kind of looked upon as like an alien world to the establishment, isn't it? And
so we'll see. I guess the other thing is, it's sort of good that sort of $10-12 million is a quite, there's a fairly large investment sizes for a sort of seed rounds, but we're still, we're not back in the days, not a year ago when people were raising like $40 million, to do this sort
thankfully.
Of stuff. So, well, maybe not. So yeah, I mean, it's good, I think. And more generally, we sort of saw, I think, did we cover this last week? I can't remember. Illuvium raised $10 million as well. So you're starting to see, from a very low level, maybe we were starting to see sort of the VC investments into sort of blockchain games sort of picking up a little bit. We'll sort of see on that.
And that's kind of the biggest news I've spotted really coming out of the 3XP event that's running at the moment. I've not seen much yet. I think it's today is sort of the big day, and it's the last day today, I think.
It's 2 days,
And it's also been the NFC Lisbon event this week. The Sandbox was main investor in. So there are a couple of events going on. Anyway, cracking on. So we have had Nitro Nation World Tour has had their car sales gone live this week, and that's by Mythical Games and CM Games, and running on the Mythic chain. yeah, so I'm quite bullish on that project actually. I was thinking I should get some. I should get some. Quite like to play that game with the children when it comes
Yeah.
out.
Yes. So they're looking at NFTs now. So they're cheapest pack is $40, and then there's a $60 pack and a $150 pack. Obviously, you get better cars guaranteed in the more expensive packs.
Yeah, and you
Doesn't
get
look
these
like.
little. So you
Say
say
again.
no, no.
All right. I can't. It sort of says how many are available. It doesn't say how many. What the total supply was. It doesn't strike me that these are. This has been on sale for a few days. It doesn't strike me that these are selling out at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see. I think it's in general it's sort of quite a complex sort of project. So even in this case, when you buy one of these packs, you get a car. The rarity sort of depends a little bit on how much money you spend, but you also get these spark plugs, which I have no idea.
Yeah, I was going to say
Well,
you get 4 spark plugs all
yeah.
together. You can build a car from it.
Oh,
You
really?
basically
Okay.
merge them and create a car, and
There you go.
obviously that that will
Mm,
later on be
yeah.
useful, I guess.
Yeah. So
Um,
no, I think yeah, I sort of concur with your view. I mean, I know the Creative Mobile is what it used to be called, the CM Games people. I mean, they've been making these mobile drag races for 15 years, so they definitely know how to make the product on that side. So I guess it's a little bit like how the game will go live on the app stores and how the NFT integration will happen and all that sort of stuff will be the thing we're interested in.
yeah, interesting. Again, coming back to this discussion we have pretty much every week about games going live on blockchain on the App Store. You write about that again, didn't you, this week? And we have the Mavens coming out on that topic as well, with
Yeah.
very
Mm.
different views actually
Yeah.
from the industry experts on that. So that's an interesting
Yeah.
ever-going.
I mean, I do think it's one of the, you know, it, it seems, I mean, as with everything, there's a sort of a spectrum of what people think about it, but there is really some people who are just like, no, I wouldn't. I'm not trusting the App Store at all. I'm just doing it on web. Really, I wouldn't say anti it, but for their product, they're definitely like the App Store is not the way I want to, the position
Yeah.
I want to do. And other people, I mean, like Mythical, with Nitro Nation and NFT Rivals, which are live on the App Stores, who are very much like, no, Apple's allowing people to do NFTs as long as you're not doing anything sort of scammy. And we think, App Stores are going to be incredible because we can, there's obviously billions of people, 3-4 billion people,
Yeah, and it comes down to like quite a fundamental ideological question as well. Are you happy to sort of ride along with the tools that already exist in the established
Hmm.
sort of system, or would you rather try to be that sort of pioneer that does it completely your own way?
Hmm.
And aren't going to play by the rules whatsoever? Or do you believe that we can be groundbreaking in the future, but we have to go along with what's there sort of now to get sort of anywhere? We can't compete with anybody unless we go along with the outside. So yeah, it's kind of it seems like games projects have very different experiences on
Yeah. Well, this is without
the
going
things.
too philosophical. Is it directionalism versus destinationalism? So
Yes,
sort of in
exactly.
politics, do you
Thank you.
do you,
You're phrasing well what I was trying to say there.
do you fight within the system to get to where you want to go, even to make
Exactly.
things better, even though you never get to where you want to go, or do you reject the system because the getting to the destination is the important thing? And I think, I mean, a little bit taking a step back from that. I mean, for some of these people, if you've sort of designed a game which is very sort of on-chain heavy and has tokens and all that sort of stuff, I mean, it's very hard to get that through the App Store. I mean, Apple seems to be happy with NFTs now, but Apple is definitely not happy with sort of random token cryptocurrencies being used. I mean, Apple just definitely does not like that. So if you had that sort of game, then you'd have to sort of you have to cut back your product so heavily to get it through that it's probably not worth it. Whereas some products are just sort of using NFTs in a sort of more lightweight form, then they're not changing their game design to get through the App Store. So I guess that's a little bit where the decision making
Yeah,
falls.
exactly. Yeah. Right. We had Ascendus sim that's live in alpha now on the Arbitrum testnet. We have the third-person shooter Fakana or Fakina, I don't know how you say it. They're running its first playtest as well up till the 13th of June. Altiverse Sky City Hub closed beta has launched. And excuse me, Lucky Cats Panzer Dog running on Sui. That's now available on mobile and browser as well.
Crypto unicorns.
Did I get? Yes, I was going to get to that now.
Okay.
Right, you tell us all about that. You did an interview, and again, I thought that was a good interview. Actually, he was talking quite openly about his sort of view on they absolutely do not want to be a free-to-play kind of mobile. They've done that, and they're past that now. And that was an interesting insight into, I think, fairly detailed how his thought process has been going on around that, and how he got into Web3. So tell us a bit more about that, John.
Yeah, so I had an interview on my podcast, Blockchain Gaming World, with Aaron Bierschmidt, who's the CEO of Laguna Games. So yeah, as you say, he used to run a free-to-play mobile studio. And actually, I didn't realize before, but you said he was actually working on a what's it called? Game of Thrones game. I think he was saying, wasn't he? He was working on a Game of Thrones game for Warner's, which I don't think ever came out. But anyway, I mean, he was just talking about how hard it is, how hard it was even a couple of years ago to be a small free to play mobile developer, because it's just the costs are really expensive, and the whole marketing playbook you can't use anymore. So yeah, going back to your mobile thing, even though they are sort of launching these mobile games, they are basically using them to onboard people into crypto. So his sort of view was, crypto unicorns, is designed to be a pretty hardcore game, even though it looks sort of quite cute and it's these sort of funny, snaggly tooth sort of unicorns. It's sort of and it's all sort of pastel colors and all that sort of stuff. He's sort of underlying it is quite a hardcore sort of resource sort of crafting and farming game. And he was saying, given the market conditions, he's quite happy that he has these. I think he only said like 2,300 sort of active wallets. So it's just quite a small number of players who are playing it. But he says, the retention is very high, and people are really sort of into that game. And he thinks it's easier to sort of expand that audience over time.
I guess it's different. You're not competing with these sort of shooters and dark fantasy themes. I mean, it's got kind of a dark side to it, as I understand it, a bit of a shadow.
There are these shadow corns. But it's even that's within. I mean, it's sort of like sort of humorous ones.
But you're not.
No. So as I say, we'll sort of see how that product sort of builds out. But the thing they launched this week was the first of their mini games. So the Unicorn Party is sort of the overall sort of a brand for that, and they released this what's it called, Bumpercorn. So it's a sort of fairly simple sort of a battle royale type game where you're sort of bumping the other unicorns out of the arena. So you can play that, and you can play that without having NFTs, but it's sort of designed. If you have
a token,
if you have an NFT, one of the unicorns, then you can sort of you get a place on the leaderboard and you can earn tokens. You can I think win NFTs as well if you don't have them, but they're sort of using it as a sort of something in which they can sort of get people into the universe a bit. And they've got a few others. So they've got this what's it called, Mob Run. They're having a Tamagotchi sort of version of the unicorn, and they've got a sort of a bigger game called I think Rumble. Can't remember that term, but they've got a few other sort of games. So these are the very hyper casual ones, I guess we would call them, and they've got a few other ones as well. And they are going through the App Store, but they're not. Crypto Unicorns isn't going through the App Store. They're doing these sort of more simple games to sort of see if they can leverage the distribution of the App Store.
Similar to Axie, isn't it? Axie, Axie's kind of done.
Yeah.
But here is a bit more variation in the games.
Yeah, these are new games
released, isn't it? Yeah. But you've been playing Crypto Unicorns quite a bit for quite a while, haven't you? And what do you make of it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say quite a bit. I've been playing it off and on for quite a while. I've been playing it. It's been out for a year, so I've been playing it sort of off and on for a year. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not quite at the commitment level to actually really sort of seriously know what I'm doing. So if you're really into exactly the resource management and you need need to go and buy these seeds to get these, to grow these plants, to then to then craft out these things. I mean, I'm not at that level. I'm just
Right,
sort of,
these things are like a full-time job these
no,
days, aren't they?
yeah, no, exactly. So I just sort of, I sort of like bobble along occasionally and plant some stuff and do a bit of jousting and just sort of get a feel for it, really. So I mean, that's really my approach to most games, just bobble
Good.
along the surface.
Good. So that was our game of the week as well this week, and we've had some other good interviews. Natisha, our writer, she wrote up a good interview with the Sandbox, and you can find that on our website, as well as John's interview with Aaron Beyer-Schmidt. It's a good name, actually. Sounds a bit German.
Well, I assume it probably is. I always get
Okay.
worried when I'm writing it. I have to like check those. Haven't missed out
Yeah.
one of the T's or something. Got the I in the wrong place.
Good. Well, that's it from us this week. We'll wrap it up there, I think, and we'll see you all next week. Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
See ya.